All right. You want me to make kind of a opening statement for you guys?
Sure.
Why not?
Why not?
You know, I'm excited about Friday. We've been able to have team workouts and individual workouts and so forth, but I see our guys improving individually and collectively. I thought we had a great summer, great fall, and I think our guys' attitude going into Friday's first official practice is really good. Obviously, you had the new arena, which brings some excitement as well, and I think our fan base that has been so important to this program, I hope at least is starting to get a little re-energized, because that's so important for us to reestablish this program and where it was before and where we want to get to down the road. So I love practice. I love when practice starts. It's going to be a great weekend, and I know our guys are excited as well, which is very, very important for us to continue to take some of the steps along this process that we're in right now. So open it up to any questions at all.
Coach, a lot of the players talked about how the summer workouts helped the team chemistry and also kept them into what's going on with the program rather than being a little lax if there wasn't those summer workouts. Can you talk about that a little?
Yeah, I thought that, again, the NCAA got that right in allowing us, even if it's just 2 hours as a coach, and I think the players would agree it would be better if it was maybe 4 hours or 6 hours, but 2 is a good start, and us being able to be in the gym with them, a little more contact with them, a little more direction, because if they're only working out those 2 hours a week, that's not enough. They have to do stuff on their own, but those 2 hours that we're with them, give them that direction. And again, just, there's nothing more important. I said, the difference between most teams, there's a few outliers out there, but for most teams, it's leadership, chemistry, and competitive toughness, and that chemistry has to be constantly built. And I think the summer workouts with us in there and then with them doing a lot of stuff on their own definitely has helped that.
We asked Mufon what the strength of this team was. He said defense. You like hearing that when a senior says it. It's not the shooting and that three-pointer, it's defense. You like hearing that from your guys?
Yeah, I do, and I think Mufon gets it, and I think we're in the process of getting better. I think if you looked at an area that we needed to improve in, and there was, I can name quite a few, but overall defensively we have to be better. I think we were 7th or 8th in defensive field goal percentage in the ACC. You like to be in the top 4 in that. And the area that we need to improve on is our defensive field goal percentage from the 3-point line. I think we are 12th in the ACC in that. We have to do a much better job of just our overall defense, our pressure, our intensity on that, and our sense of urgency. One area that we were very good at was rebounding, though. And so our defensive possessions need to end with rebounds. I think year 2, our defensive energy will be much better, and I think our freshmen come along have done a good job of picking that up.
How much easier is it this year you have your system established and you have a home arena as opposed to trying to establish a system and trying to figure out what night you're playing at which arena?
Well, if you remember last year's press conference, I kind of downplayed the fact of not having a home court and all that. I didn't want our guys to look at that as a negative. But that was difficult. It was hard. Maybe even more so than I originally suspected. But that's changed now, and that's going to be important. But not nearly as important in the fact that our guys, returning guys, have a year of understanding what's important now in this program and what's important on a daily basis, and the fact that we're still in the process of trying to establish an identity for this program, and every day you have to build on that identity and figure out where our strengths are, and so where there's no feeling out anymore among those guys where they're just trying to kind of get a grasp of things. They know now, and now we're in the part of the process we have to start doing it on a daily basis.
Do you have any expectations for the freshmen, or you just want them to fit in as best as they can with the program?
Well, I think when it comes to freshmen, number one, the only expectations those guys need to meet are mine. And so many times nowadays in college sports in general, expectations for incoming guys get way overblown, and Guys are doing things well and are growing as young men, as students and players, and they feel like they're failing because they're not meeting some, expectations that were overblown to begin with. So those guys need to understand that they're in the middle of a process too. Now, those guys have done a tremendous job prior to even getting here in terms of getting on campus early and working out and getting a feel for things. So they're a little bit ahead of schedule when it comes to that, but they're still freshmen. The most important thing that they learn is to compete every single day, which, as you know, a lot of times high school players don't have to do, especially as highly talented as those guys were. Because if they do that, then that's the first step of being consistent, and that's so important for a freshman.
And your decade plus as a head coach, have you ever had all five starters returning the next year? And if so, how did you do that follow-up year?
No, never had all five. You sometimes get four, sometimes three, and the things, it's important for those guys that are coming back to realize that nothing is going to be given to them this year either. Everything is going to be earned in terms of playing time, and that will start on Friday. You kind of have a base or a foundation of where everybody's at going into Friday's first practice. But I expect that the playing time is going to be much more competitive this year than it was last year.
What will it mean if Mufon or Daniel or whomever are able to hit more consistently from the perimeter for your offense?
Well, I think, one of the things that we did a poor job last year was creating shots for each other. Just that mentality of taking great pride in getting someone a basket, and a lot of times that's just hitting the next open man. I think we were 300 out of 338 in assists per game, and around that same level in assist turnover margin. We have to do a better job of taking care of the ball, but do a better job of creating some shots. I think we'll shoot better if we have the mentality of looking to get someone else a basket. And it's amazing, there was some games we shot the ball well, and it usually was a direct proportion to the assists and our ball movement. So again, I think our guys have improved in those areas in terms of shooting, but just that mentality is something that will make us a much better offensive team.
Coach, you used the phrase feeling out a little while ago. Are you to the point where you don't have to feel out this team to know what its offensive identity is likely to be? Because last year it was certainly not post dominant, not jump shooting team. You weren't really a transition team. Do you have a feel for what kind of offensive identity you're likely to have this year?
Well, I think one of the things that maybe towards the end of last year we were able to establish was a little more of a post presence. But again, you win with high percentage shots, and how do you get those high percentage shots? You get them in transition. Best way to score in the post is in the open court, so we got to make sure that we do a good job with our big guys running. All four of our big guys can run. You have to make sure that you're getting offensive rebounds. We have to be a much better offensive rebounding team. That was one area I thought that programs I've been associated with have always been tremendous at getting second and third opportunities. Nothing more demoralizing than getting those second and third shots. We have to do a better job of that. I think we will. And so, do we have a better feel for where some points will come from? I hope so. But again, I think we're still evolving when it comes to that. Are we going to be a completely inside-outside team? We shoot better when we go inside first, so you would hope that would be the case. But that means some guys have to step up too, because that's a new responsibility for those guys as well.
I know fans like to go through the schedule and say, that's a win, that's a loss, that's a win, that's a loss. I know you don't do that, but do you have a sense of it as a 15 win, 20 win, 25, for the season?
The one thing we're where we're at right now is a program, but I think even down the road, my expectations, our goals, they're more process driven than result driven. We need to have a team that is a team, that when you watch it, you say, man, those guys understand what it means to be part of a team. That's the reason we're all together, because we can't do things on our own. We have to become more accountable and responsible, and the biggest compliment we pay to each other is that you're a dependable teammate, that guys can count on you. So we need to build that. That's a goal, to have a team that competes every single night and has that competitive toughness. That's super important when it comes to doing the things that you want to do. I mean, there's a lot of things that are more process orientated than final result orientated. So I just believe we have good enough players, and we're going to keep bringing in good enough players that if you concentrate on those things, that the wins will come.
Just getting back to the arena, do you think there might be more of an intimidation factor? You know, new arena, new lighting, the student sections are a little different. Is that going to give you more of a home court advantage, you think?
Well, as I said, I think one of the things is we need a very highly energized fan base, and I think in the past we've had that. We need to kind of recapture that a little bit. I've been very fortunate to coach in some pretty good home court advantaged venues like the Breslin Center and UD Arena, and all those things are important, but nothing's more important than the fans. And you mentioned, you know, one particular group, the students kind of act as the point guard for the entire crowd. We got to do a great job with getting our students more involved with our program. As I always said, you know, half of our student population have never walked down Fowler to go to a basketball game, because the sophomores haven't and the freshmen haven't. We need to do a really good job of that, because those guys set the tone and tempo for the rest of the crowd.
What do you do for captains? Have you announced that? Do they game by game?
They haven't announced that, and that we'll probably do that after the first week of practice. Our guys have done leadership is important, and guys are starting to understand that the key to leadership is actually serving the other guys, and that just mentality is kind of a change of thought process for some of our guys, and they're getting much better at it, and probably announce those after the first week of practice.
And when you do announce it, are they for the season, or is it?
That would be for the season.
For the season.
Yeah, that would be for the season.